Everyone, in this video I'm going to talk about autism spectrum disorder. I will talk about what it is and discuss the articles I have read that have furthered my knowledge on the subject, and I will end by talking about parent and family involvement in the process. So what is autism spectrum disorder? It refers to a range of conditions characterized by challenges with social skills, repetitive behaviors, speech, and nonverbal communication, as well as by unique strengths and differences. This information was taken from autismspeaks.org. There are many different types of autism, all caused by different combinations of environmental and genetic influences. Signs of ASD usually begin to appear between 2 and 3 years of age, but it can be diagnosed as early as 18 months, and there are early intervention programs where these children can attend. Diagnosing it earlier is definitely a benefit to helping them get that intervention as soon as possible. So the first article I read that I'm going to discuss was called Teacher Perception of the Importance of Friendship and Other Outcome Priorities in Children with Autism Spectrum Disorder. So basically this article was about how friendship relates to social skill, physical skill, and motor development, emotional development, academic skills, and creativity. So in the article, it talked about a study that was done to see how high teachers rank the meaning of friendship as well as social emotional behavior and development along the scale with educational skills. Reading further, I got to the results which showed that both mainstream and satellite teachers rank friendship, social skills, and emotional development among the top 3 most important outcome priorities. I really enjoyed reading this article, and it made me really happy to see the results, because I'm a firm believer that social skills and emotional development are super important in the classroom to make sure that students are performing at their highest level, and being comfortable in a classroom, in my opinion, definitely helps that. Now I will discuss the second article I read, which was about the physical design of the classroom when you have students with autism spectrum disorder. So this was also based on a study that was done to share ways to design your classroom to accommodate the needs of children with autism spectrum disorder. So here I have a list of ideas which I will read aloud. Visual cues and physical boundaries, which could be tape markers on the floor, separate learning zones, things similar to that. In your classroom, you should not isolate quiet spaces for one-on-one work. Rather, you should have a space for them to work quietly, but not where it's to the point where they feel like they're being put on the outside. You want it to be still in the realm of the classroom. You should have circulation paths, so children need a larger personal space, but it will also help the flow of the classroom. You should definitely limit climbing opportunities. You should definitely have a withdrawal space or a sensory integration area. Depending on your students, you could have things like fidget toys, inflated chairs, squeezing machines, and there are so many more things that can be included here. In your classroom, there should be a minimum of 3 workstations. Students in your class should always be moving from station to station. It kind of helps the flow, and it helps students not feel so trapped in one space for a long period of time. And the last idea is to have therapy balls. This can increase seated time. Yeah. So here I have an example of a visual cue or a physical boundary. So on the left side, we have class rules, and we have it written and we have a picture. This definitely helps students understand better. Some maybe for your students who are not yet reading completely, having the picture helps. And these can be used throughout the day. They're definitely helpful. And on the right, we have physical boundaries. So here, there's feet on the floor for students to line up with. This really just gives you something that is set in stone that students can really follow, and they'll always go to that spot and they know what to do when they get there. This is actually an example of a withdrawal space. So you see there's bean bags on the floor, there's a little bin with fidget toys and squeeze balls, and it's isolated, but it's still in the classroom and they can still see out into the classroom, but at the same time, get their time away to take a minute and take a break, if necessary, of course. So next is an example of a sensory integration area. So I have two different integration areas here. I'll start with the one on the left. The one on the left is a multi-sensory room. So in this room you see there's a lot going on, but for this sensory integration area, this is more for your students who are multiply disabled who need this calming space. This is kind of a room that calms them down and they see the stuff on the walls, they get the lights. I've seen it in action before and it's really quite intriguing. And on the right, this is more for your students with emotional disabilities, behavioral disabilities, learning disorders. You see all the therapy balls and it's an open space. So it gives the students more freedom, but they are still structured at the same time. So the last article I read is called Social Engagements Through Art Activities for Two Children with Autism Spectrum Disorders. So this was about two students on the autism spectrum who participated in a behavioral art program. So according to the article, the program used behavior analytic teaching strategies consisting of opportunities for social interactions through creative art activities with topics relevant to children, such as my family, thought bubbles, myself, and my summer vacation. So this really just gives students the opportunities for verbal and visual expression. And the focus of the art projects should be on my statements. I thought this was really great. I'm also a firm believer that art really can pull things out of students that you won't necessarily get through verbal speech. Lastly, I will discuss parent involvement in the learning process. Parents and the teacher should always be on the same page when it comes to the learning curriculum. That is definitely the best way to benefit your student is by always communicating with the teacher, communicating with the parents, vice versa. The teacher and the parents or guardians in the classroom need to be communicative, especially with children on the autism spectrum. It is definitely important to understand the child fully. You need to know the child's wants, you need to know the child's needs, and you really just need to know maybe what might set a child off or what will help calm them down. And this communication will give you those answers. Another important thing is that you should understand the student's IEP and know their goals and objectives. And then together you can work on reaching those goals and objectives. Some examples of how to get parents involved are parent breakfast, bring the parents in, create a slideshow, tell them what you're doing in the classroom, things like that. You could do a parent survey where you ask parents to really talk about their child, what will help their child, what will help you help their child. And you could give parents activities, or you could give students activities to complete with their caregiver that will really help parents get involved in the learning process. These are some sources that I used to create this video, so thank you for listening.